All right, welcome everyone for our 4 months of Agent Power Hour. And today we've got a very special guest, Mr. Mike Sherrard. I could tell you about how he's one of the top 3 realtors, YouTubers globally, that he's got 60,000 plus subscribers, and he got most of the subscribers in just past couple years. He's helped thousands of realtors up their social media game, and he has also helped me a ton with mine because I would not be nearly as consistent on YouTube and putting out myself out there on camera if it wasn't for him either. So, Mike, how are you doing today?
Good, man. Excited to see some new people on here. We need to get them to put their cameras on. What's going on? It's a video chat.
Yeah, we like to keep it kind of conversational. So yeah, if you guys have your cameras on, that would be awesome.
There we go. KW repping. Look at that. We need to bring some blue paint your way, my friend.
So Mike, with a lot of people, you were able to grow such a strong following, and I was actually just like on TubeBuddy yesterday trying to find different videos to do, and I go to like who has the top search results, and pretty much you had like 2 to 4 videos of the top 20 was going on there. So can you tell us a little bit about what's the secret, man?
Yeah, definitely. And we can kind of go down the rabbit hole as deep as you guys want to go with this. But, you know, for me, it just came down to kind of understanding how I got into the industry and really looking at that. So like, you know, for me, I was a past engineer. And when I was looking at studying, getting into real estate, I was watching all these other people's YouTube videos, and I started to realize like I'm learning from them. These are the people that I'm looking up to. And then when I started getting into real estate, I started realizing like, why don't I just become that person? Why don't I become the person that people are watching and looking up to if that's what I did for other people when I was getting my license? And I started diving into video. And you know, there's a lot of people that think video is saturated, but it's really not, because, you know, one of the quotes that I live by is if you go the extra mile, it's never crowded. And what you'll see is like, you know, you've got channels like mine, like Louis, and, you know, people that are willing to over deliver. And the beautiful part about YouTube is there's so many people that relate to you. So with me and video, the constant feedback I get is that people say that I'm really authentic, I'm relatable, but then I just get straight to the point and kind of deliver on the value that people are expecting. So it's a really easy process once you understand how to optimize your content. A lot of people complicate it, but it's not that difficult. But it's really, really powerful, because we've seen kind of from 2 different avenues. You know, whether you've got people like us at, you know, EXP, or you've got people like KW, or you know, modern agents that are able to kind of get compensated for partnering with people, or if you've got the traditional way of doing real estate, which is just, you know, traditional production. Either which way, video is the best way to attract, because I've become a top producer through video on the production side for every year that I was actively producing. And then I became the #1 attractor in the history of EXP, all by doing video, right? And it's all through leverage. And I think that's the one point I really want to get across to people is the constant feedback I get from agents is people saying like, Mike, I'm sick and tired of, you know, having to go out and find clients, having to go out and hunt for the next deal, having to go pitch myself and all of these things. And then when you start looking at that, the reason is, Jim, do you want to mute whoever's unmuted? I think it's Katie. Okay, cool. So yeah, it's just one of those things where, you know, you need to give people a reason to reach out to you. And a lot of agents are saying that they want clients to come in directly to them, but they haven't give clients reason to come directly to them, because, you know, everybody says that they go above and beyond for their clients and they do so much for their clients and their quality is amazing and all of this nonsense, which could be the case, right? Like in many cases, it's actually true, but you haven't shown that to the world. Nobody knows that. You're just telling them that. So the beautiful part about video is it allows you to show, not just tell. And by kind of amplifying your message and getting in front of more people, it becomes a really powerful value proposition where, again, we've got agents in our organization that are on track to do $140 million solo this year, entirely free from their videos on an iPhone, as second-year agents that just moved to a new city. Like, it doesn't get more conservative than that. So really excited to dive into this, Jim, and we can kind of take it wherever you'd like to, but it's a really powerful kind of unique opportunity right now before everybody starts diving into it to really separate yourself from the competition.
Yeah, I'm looking at who we have on this call, and we actually have some people who are really good with video, YouTube, Reels, and stuff on here. So maybe more of an advanced level going through, because a lot of people, I went through a couple weeks ago, if people were on this call, that we're starting, how to start. And so, how can you grow with utilizing video?
Yeah, definitely. So what I can kind of do is, I've got the Ignite presentation up here, and I'm not going to go through that presentation. But what I'm going to do is kind of pull from that, and then we can talk about short form, long form, YouTube as well, and then how to make it easy. This is very similar to what I talked on Joshua Smith's GSD Mode podcast yesterday, which is really cool. So let me kind of go down the rabbit hole a little bit here for you guys, and kind of talk to you about video and the importance of it, and why now specifically. And I think that's a really important point, because it's a time sensitive opportunity. And especially right now with where the market's going, there's a lot of people on here from, markets that are super hot, markets that are very average. Not everybody's going to be affected the same, but we all see the market tightening and softening. So either which way, we're all going to be affected. So what can we do in order to make sure that as the market starts to shift, we prepare ourselves to dominate and to gain market share? Because the beautiful part is, this is like the most exciting time to be in real estate, right? There's a lot, the last 2 years have basically been the easiest time in history. It's a gravy train. You sell a freaking property in 14 minutes for $100,000 over list price. Like, I don't know why more people didn't do FISBOs, to be honest, because anybody could literally freaking sell a house, right? But this is where times get exciting, because if you look at 2008, 2009, 60% of agents didn't renew their license when the market shifted. Well, where did the clients from the 60% go? To the 40% that weathered the storm, right? And during this time, you're going to have a lot of the agents that got their license just because they wanted to pay a couple grand, sell 2 homes, make 30 grand, and then kind of be done with it because they know a few people. But this is kind of where you separate the gap and take market share. And just to give you guys some context, I'm from up here in Calgary. And when I got started as a new agent, only 27% of homes in my market were selling. So when you start looking at now, we're basically 100% of homes sell in like the first week. That was not what I was used to. So I was able to kind of look at this from a different lens in order to create leverage. So, just kind of talking about, again, the importance of it, and then some misconceptions before we dive into short form, long form, and kind of what you should be doing going forward, especially just very specific to right now. Is, again, the thing with video is, it allows you to create leverage of your time. And I think this is where a lot of agents start to fall short, because, for me in the beginning, I was door knocking every single day, 3 hours a day for the first 6 months, in the snow and the rain and the hail, like everything. And it sucked. And also I started to look at it mathematically, being the data-driven person that I am, is that if I was door knocking for 3 hours a day, but working 12 hours a day, my business was only growing a quarter of the time I was actually working. Right. So when you start looking at video, what it allows you to do is to create leverage of your time, where essentially if you put out an optimized video, it's door knocking for you 24/7, 365, whether you're spending time with your friends, your family, on vacation, doing whatever. Right. So it's really cool because I don't have the picture on here, but I was the top producer in January of 2020 at my past brokerage while I was in the Maldives, Thailand, and traveling Hawaii. I was away for the entire month, and I was the #1 producer out of 130 agents, because I had so many leads coming to me from my content that I was able to fire to other agents at the office and say, hey, dude, or, hey, lady, can you like hook me up and go take care of this client for me? We'll do 50-50 and we're good to go. And even doing 50-50, I was still the top producer. So to be able to create leverage is really important, because a lot of agents start to build momentum, and then they start to hate their lives because they have no time. And that's a really dangerous part about having one income stream at a traditional brokerage and doing it in a very traditional way that requires your time invested in creating it, instead of looking at a one-to-many scale, right? Because cold calling works, door knocking works, networking event works, flyers can work. All of this stuff can work. Anything can work in real estate, but it's a 1-to-1 ratio, right? So when you start to look at scaling it, the only way you could scale is to put more time into your business, but your ultimate goal is to get time back, right? Which is a really difficult kind of hamster wheel to get caught up in. Whereas with video, if you properly put out content, like, again, I said, myself and many other agents in our group are putting out 2 videos a week, and they're doing $50 to $100 million a year while still having time to enjoy their family, travel, and their friends, right? And that's what's really exciting about this. But also it's really cool because it's a unique value proposition. So let's talk about the market right now. As the market starts to tighten and get a little bit more quirky and, you know, have some ambiguity with it. One of the things that you guys will start seeing, if you're a newer agent and you've been licensed the last 2-3 years, like you guys have just been riding a gravy train, and it's been an absolute joke to sell a home. Now this is where it's going to take skill. And this is exciting because what I found in my market when I got started, and it was really difficult, it was the slowest market in North America, is that sellers were looking for more. They weren't looking for the agent that had the most experience. They weren't looking for the agent that was on all the billboards. They weren't looking for the one with the biggest team or at a specific brokerage. They were looking for the ones that were doing things differently and staying ahead of the curve, because their perception was things are getting more difficult in the market. I need an agent that's going to be stronger at marketing my home to get more exposure than just uploading it to the MLS and letting it become a sitting duck. So when I was able to prove to them that through video, I could get tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of views more than the average agent could in my market, they also started to see, wow, you also have skin in the game. You've invested your time, you've invested your money. We're mutually invested in this process, where their perception, albeit maybe not the truth, is that if you approach real estate in the traditional way, that they think if, you know, you haven't invested shit into this, you upload it to the MLS, it takes a bit of time, but it takes no money. So if the property doesn't sell, nothing off your back, but it really hurts the seller. That's like their mentality. Whereas when I could show them, hey, I'm going to spend a couple grand in order to, you know, record this content, put it up there, amplify it with social media and maybe some paid ad strategies. Now we're both in the game here. And that really helped me close a lot of heavy hitter, like $1 million listings that were looking for something a little bit more, right? So it's really important to start to look at what people are doing. And now, to be honest, there's agents and organizations that are doing $1 million listings every single week, and they don't even have a listing presentation. They literally walk into the property, pull up their YouTube channel, and they're like, hey, here's what I've done for a bunch of other people just like you. Don't you want that too? And they're like, well, yeah. Right? They're getting tens of thousands, 100,000 views on all the property tours. And now you can show people what you do differently, not just trying to tell them what you do differently. So that's really important stuff. Now, just to kind of, again, touch on some of the misconceptions that seem to be quite common before we go into some of the other stuff, Jim, and then we can, you know, you can let me know where you'd like to take this. But, you know, misconceptions. Number one, followers, subscribers, views, right? This is a terrible thing that I see in real estate all the time, is that people are way too caught up in like the vanity metrics. Things like, again, thinking that in order to succeed with video, you need 1,000 subscribers, or you need a bunch of followers on TikTok or Instagram, or you need a bunch of views. Like, that couldn't be further from the case. Like, there's actually a guy in our RevShare organization who put out a YouTube video, got 17 views, and he got a $1.4 million listing from it. Right? So if one of the people that watches your video is looking to buy or sell, you just made a ridiculous return on your time invested, right? But also it's looking at the conversion rates. And I think this is really important, because when you start to look at the average conversion rate of any form of prospecting or lead generation, the average is about 1%, right? So if you make 100 calls with intent, or 100 knocks with intent, or you get 100 leads from Facebook with intent and you follow up, then usually about 1%, so 1 out of 100 are actually going to turn into a closed transaction. When you look at YouTube, the average conversion rate is 65%. So people are coming directly to you for you because you've given them a reason to reach out to you. And now it's one of these things where you can start to control the conversation because they're coming to you, you're not coming to them. And to be honest, it's a really great way to edify yourself. So I used to go into listing presentations. Now with EXP, I go into agent presentations, and the feedback is like, I have people showing up in like 3-piece freaking suits being like, Mike, I didn't even think it was going to be you on the call, but I was hoping it would be. I thought it'd be your assistant, because they think just because I have an audience that it's special. Like, I used to have that same effect with my listings. Is I would go into listing presentations and they'd be like shocked, thinking I'm like, they were telling me I was like the $1 million listing, or the Ryan Serhant or the Josh Altman of Calgary. I'm like, dude, I put out like 10 videos about properties. Like, I'm not that special, but to the public's eye, it is. It's really different, right? So the perception that it gives off when you have a channel and you're consistent with it, it really edifies you in the public's eyes, which is really important for now not having to go constantly sell yourself and pitch yourself and talk about why you're special. They already know why you're special. They've seen it, right? And if they haven't seen it, if you're active on your content, what it's really powerful for is if you leave a listing presentation, people are going to look you up, right? And if they look you up and find you on this platform, they go down the rabbit hole, and it's going to be a really easy way to differentiate you from other agents. And that, as the market tightens, is all you're looking for, is that one competitive advantage that they're going to say, hey, these other 5 agents we interviewed aren't doing what you do. Even though you've got less experience, you're doing something differently that's ahead of the curve, that's modern, that's relevant. And I want that from my property, or I want that from my experience as well, right? So it's really powerful. And a lot of people have this assumption that by doing property tours, you're going to get buyers, but it's actually the reverse. When you do property tours, you get more sellers, right? And the reason being is because people are going to come across a property tour, and like, sure, you might have like a unicorn needle in a haystack situation that they want that exact house, but it literally almost never happens. What happens is sellers see, wow, look at what you're doing for those people. I want that too, right? So it's a really great way. And this is how all the agents and organization broke into the luxury space. I actually just put in a video on my YouTube today about 6 things you can do to become a luxury real estate agent. All you have to do is, what you'll see is, when I was putting out, when I was door knocking and putting out videos related to average price point communities and average price point properties, I got average price point clients. So after 3 months of doing that, I was like, well, fuck. Why don't I just go to some luxury communities and start doing property tours and community tours and door knocking in luxury communities? And what do you know? In my first 4 months, I got a $15 million listing, and half of my deals were over $3 million, where the average price point in my market is $472,000. It's like, if you get in front of average clients, you get average deals. If you get in front of luxury clients, you get luxury clients. It's really not that difficult. It's just looking at consumer behavior. Right. So just a couple other misconceptions, and then I'll toss it back to you, Jim, before we kind of dive deeper. You don't need expensive equipment. 100% of the agents in my group that are doing over $50 million per year from their YouTube videos are using an iPhone. That's it. That's all. Right. No crazy camera, no background shit like I've got, no professional mic, literally an iPhone. Like, it's as easy as it gets. So you don't need to make it expensive. It's not saturated. I told this in Denver the other day. There's 30,000 agents in Denver. There's like 5 people on YouTube. And they're like, Mike, there's other agents in my market that are putting up videos about Denver. And I'm like, okay, dude, well, do you want to go compete against 30,000, or do you want to go compete against 5? I'd rather compete against 5, because the chances is that you are vastly different than one or all of those 5, at least most of them. You're probably a different age, a different gender, a different demographic, a different ethnicity. You've got a different language. Like, you've got something different about you than all the other 5 people in your market putting out content, which means there's going to be a whole pool of people that are going to relate to you over all of them. Right. So saturation, non-existent right now. Now, the problem is that as more people start to wake up to the fact that this is important and a necessity for your business, it will become saturated and it will become difficult. And that, I see, is probably going to be a 2-year window. So if you decide to kind of twiddle your thumbs for the next 2 months and say somehow that this isn't the way of getting clients, then in 2 years from now, you're really going to regret that. Time consuming, it's not. I'll show you guys. That's probably one of the most important things I want to help you guys kind of dial in, is how to amplify your content by making it easy and not take a lot of time. Like for me, for example, I just recorded my next 4 months of YouTube videos last Saturday in 3 hours, right? So, I don't have to record videos for the next 4 months. And I put out 3 videos a week on my channel. So you can make it really easy, but again, it's all in the preparation. And then the last misconception that a lot of people struggle with, because people seem to just have fears and limiting beliefs, and that's what's holding them back from like getting comfortable being on front of camera and all this stuff. If you've got your real estate license, more than 90% of the average person in your market. And especially if you've moved to your city from a different location, you've got a really important story to tell, right? And that's the really important part about video, is if people can connect with you on a deeper level and know and feel like they can relate to your experience, then that's going to really open a lot of doors, because they feel like you're one of them, right? So that's, one of the things is just helping people understand that, whether you're in a big market, small market, we've got agents in markets of 17,000 people, that like 17,000, not agents, like people in that market. And they're doing multiple 6 figures from the YouTube videos. We've got people in markets with 3 million people that are doing multiple 6, even 7 figures. So there's always an opportunity. There's always going to be a demographic of people that relate to you. And I just really want to drive that home. So Jim, I'll kind of toss it back to you, and then let me know where you want to take this in terms of if you want to kind of go down the rabbit hole of anything related to optimization. I know Louis on here, and he's been, he's got a really great story about how he implemented video and did what I did, which is like my first videos are absolutely atrocious. Like it's a complete joke. But I keep them on my channel just to prove a point that like you have time to improve, right? And that's one of the things is I constantly see agents saying that they're perfectionists. And if an agent ever tells me they're a perfectionist, I tell them they're broke, because usually they are. Because what that's doing is hindering you from actually taking action and getting shit done. Because I can tell you for certain, my first YouTube video that I put out back in 2017, when I first got licensed, I thought that was basically as perfect as I could get back then. Well, now I look at my content today and it's like, I'm not even the same human, right? So, but that comes from repetitive action, improving over time. The only way you can reach close to perfectionism is through years of repetition and making calculated improvements by looking at the data and, again, kind of going through the motions. And we can talk about that graph that I think is important for people to see. But I just want people to understand that the only way you can really make these improvements is to just get started. So I don't know if Louis wants to chime in, or if James, you want to kind of point me in the direction that you think will help the most people on the call.
Yeah, I do kind of have a question, because there's people here really strong with YouTube, some people here who are very strong with Instagram Reels, and to like record, do the research, record a video, send it to editor, get it posted, get someone to do a thumbnail. Takes me about 2 to 3 hours total time, and that's with having an editor and someone do the optimization stuff. But I can take 8 minutes of my time, record a quick reel, just like 8 minutes, post it, everything, and get a couple thousand views. Should we like be focusing more on short form, or how do you kind of see that, or try and hit them all?
Yeah, definitely. So, I talked about this with Josh in his podcast yesterday, and this is going to be partially tailored towards video and then partially tailored towards this content in general. I want people to start to think about how you can just amplify what you're already doing. And what I mean by that is there's kind of some strategic ways that you can make it seem like you're doing a lot more business than you are, which will actually get you a lot more clients than you have, right? And it's not necessarily the notion of like faking it till you make it. It's just being strategic with how you're presenting certain material online. So let me give you an example of this. Whenever I don't do production anymore because I don't have to, but when I was doing a lot of volume, what I would do is I know some markets can, some markets can't, but coming soon property. So what I would do is like, if I had a property coming soon, I would take like a photo from the interior of like the living room and be like, hey, this property is coming soon. And then when the property went live and it was just listed, I'd be like, front exterior, this property was just listed. When I did an open house, I did the interior kitchen. When it went under contract, I did the master or the ensuite. And then when it sold, I did the exterior rear. So 5 different angles of the same property. To the average consumer, it looks like you did 5 different deals. It's the same property, right? So it's amplifying the reach and the credibility of doing what you're already doing, right? It's the same thing as like short form content is incredible right now. It's got the highest organic reach of any sort of avenue of content. And the best part about short form content that I hope kind of inspires people a little bit is like, YouTube, again, you could just use your iPhone, but there's a certain level of almost professionalism expected on YouTube because we're real estate agents. And that's just kind of the general gist of the platform is they're expecting not necessarily quality of like the audio and the video, but quality of the delivery of it and how you present yourself, which takes a bit of time to build that skill set and develop that behavior. Now on short form, the really cool part is there's a lot of people that are scared to get on camera. And they're scared to do a long presentation, an 8-minute video, 5-minute video, whatever, which I get, right? I was in the beginning too. With short form content, the content that hits the hardest and actually gets the most engagement is the super raw content where you can be yourself and it takes almost no time to create it, right? So when you look at the content that works really well in short form, it's the very authentic, raw, you being yourself content where you can be playful, you could be silly, you could be comedic, you can be yourself, which makes it a lot easier for people to get in the routine and the comfort level and develop that skill set of getting in front of the camera, right? And then you can kind of migrate over to a longer form platform once you start to find your groove. But I think it's really good, kind of like a low barrier to entry for people to get comfortable on camera because the expectations are so low, right? Because it's not a professional platform. People are constantly making a fool of themselves. And it's a really great way. Like the videos that hit the most on my channel are bloopers that I do because I fuck things up all the time when I'm recording. So giving people an insight as to who you really are. Now, again, if you want to look at the short form videos that are proven to work the best, you don't have to dance around and make a fool of yourself and look like a complete idiot. If you look at all the agents in our group that are like these, all the videos I'm going to tell you right now are videos that agents in my group have done and have got clients from. So this is not like theoretical, you should do this and hopefully it works. It's like these videos actually work and I've seen $1 million clients come from them, right? And we've got agents in our group that are 21 years old that look like they're freaking 12 and they're getting $1 million land development deals. And then you've got other agents in our group that are 55 years old relating to a completely different crowd and they're crushing $1 million deals too. Right. So it's the whole range of the spectrum. It doesn't matter your age, demographic, location, whatever. A couple of videos that you should be doing for short form that are easy, right? These are ones you can either A, do while you're already either A, working with buyers and previewing properties, or B, working with sellers and kind of doing the, photography of the property and while your crew's there doing your thing. Or these are videos you can do from the comfort of your house. So number one is obviously going to be property tours, right? Very easy, very low barrier to entry. Put a trending song over top of it. What you usually want to do is be like, here's what $500,000 gets you in El Paso, or here's what, $900,000 gets you in Denver kind of deal. And then do a property tour and kind of show what the property's like. A couple painting shots inside, outside, you're done. Like it takes 5 to 10 minutes. But it gets a lot of engagement because people want to see what a certain amount of money gets for you in different markets at different points in time. The second thing that works really well is it's kind of a twofold one, which is either community comparisons if you're on a micro level, which is going to be like if you're in a market that's not heavily based on relocation and most people are kind of staying within that market, then you want to do community comparisons. If you've got a big relocation market like Texas, like Florida, then what you want to do is you can do market comparisons. So again, looking at Noah in our group, one of his top performing videos that got him a freaking $14 million land development deal is he did, and this is the guy that's like 21 years old. He now has partnerships with builders in this video. All he did was, today we're going to talk about the difference between Sarasota and Fort Myers. And then all he did is being like Sarasota, which is his market, because obviously he's going to completely tailor it to why his market's better, is like Sarasota has better beaches, better schools, better downtown, better education system. Like you literally just said, hey, here's why Sarasota is better than Fort Myers. And you got a $14 million land development deal from that, right? If you go on a micro level, you can be like, here's why Cherry Creek is better than where Louis Goat lives. And then you can list off all the reasons because it's so much better. So it's just starting to educate people and things like that. Now, the other things that work really well that are super simple to do, and one of the best ways you could do this is to leverage green screens, right? Because that's going to allow you to create leverage. You don't need to get a green screen. You can use it natively within the app, right? Record this wherever the heck you want to be, but use the green screen feature on the app to kind of show what a different market looks like, and things like that. Top things in your market, top 5 beaches, top 5 restaurants, top 5 things to do in the summer, top 5 things to do while visiting here. Like all of these things, again, people are just looking for, and Louis knows this because it's the formula that one of our mentors uses, Andy Frizella, which is E2I equals FC or E2I equals E, right? Which is education, entertainment, and impact equals engagement. So people are either A, looking for entertainment, which is going to be like your life, right? For me, the entertainment side kind of comes from like the behind the scenes of my travels, or when I do content with like my Lamborghini and like things like that. Like that's the stuff that kind of gives people an insight as to who I am on a deeper level and a more authentic level. And then you've got educate, right? Entertain, educate. Education is like educating people on your market, right? Buyers tips, sellers tips, investors tips, market reports, community comparisons, community tours, top 5 things, like all interest rates, right? Like all of these things related to the market. Impact is usually where you start going to storytelling, right? And this is a really cool thing. And if anybody knows TikTok, everybody probably knows Glenda Baker, who's a friend of mine. And like what she's done is built her entire short form platform off storytelling, right? Because people engage and they get a sense of knowing who you really are. So this is really cool where you can talk about like success stories with your clients, right? They previously tried to list with this other agent, didn't get it sold, worked for me, sold it in 2 days. Or, you know, they relocated here, rented for so long, didn't think they'd ever be able to buy their house, helped to buy the perfect house, right? Like basically turning your testimonials into videos of case studies. Or another way to kind of create impact is if you go to like us build conference in August of Tony Robbins of the EXP, like you go to this conference, when you come out of the conference, talk about some of the key takeaways that you had from that, something that was impactful. If you read a book, if you listened to a podcast, if you watched a YouTube video, share with your audience a key takeaway that was impactful to you, because usually it's going to be impactful to them as well, right? The majority of my short form content are like expanding on little one-line bangers, right? Like little one-line hitters that actually kind of resonate with people, and then adding a bit of context to it. That's all I do. So that content works really well, right? And again, I think the one thing I will say is I have not yet seen data that proves shorts on YouTube are very beneficial. I know TikTok and Instagram Reels crush. I'm very selective with the YouTube shorts that I put out. But either which way, short form is here to stay. It's incredibly important for you guys to develop this skill set. And I think that's one of the key takeaways that I want you guys to understand from this conversation is that the ones that win in business and real estate are the ones that are the most willing to adapt. It's not the ones with the highest intellect, the biggest budget, or the most experience, right? How many agents do you see have been in the business for 20 freaking years? The market dips and they absolutely get fucking decimated because they're staying stuck in their traditional ways. They don't want to change and they're stubborn. And that way they fall behind the curve and then they dip out of the industry. Right. So when you start looking at the agents that win, this is how I was a brand new agent that was 24 years old in a new city, didn't know anybody. And I became the top producer my first year, right? Because I was willing to adapt. I was willing to learn skills that other agents weren't willing to invest the time into, because a lot of people stop learning where the repercussions are immediate. And what I mean by that is I constantly see people stop learning after high school, if that's where they stopped at their education, or out of college or university. Because if you stop learning something in university or college, you get a big fat F on your test and you have to go learn it to go pass, right? In business, if you don't learn something, the repercussions are delayed. You go broke in 6-18 months, right? But you don't feel that pain today, so you don't think it's a big deal. But it is a huge issue because you're falling behind the curve. So the ones that are willing to adapt, maybe you're not doing as many deals as you're expecting right now or that you would like to, will start to learn and develop new skills that are relevant, like short form content and communication, because at the end of the day, communication is the number one skill set you need to win, right? In real estate, it's not your budget, it's not your experience, it's not your family or where you came from, it's your communication skills. I was the only agent in 2018 and 2019 in my entire market that I know of that didn't lose a single listing presentation. And when you start looking at that, that's largely due to the fact that I was better at communicating my value proposition than even the agents that have been in the industry for 20 years and have all the billboards and all the budget, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about being able to connect with people and be able to solve their problems. Take somebody from where they are today to where they want to go, right? Current situation, desired outcome, bridging that gap with what you do. And if you can start to introduce new skills like video, not only is it going to differentiate you from other agents, but simultaneously, it's going to help you become more proficient with delivering a clear, concise, compelling, and credible message, which is going to resonate with people on a deeper level. So, Louis, I don't know if you want to kind of chime in and talk about your experience with video, before we kind of go into anything else too.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the one thing I would say would, like what Mike was saying, and we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, is just get started. Like one of one of the examples is one of our YouTube videos that Mackenzie and I put out. I told the story the other day that we took an iPhone and went around South Park Hill, a neighborhood here. And it's a terrible video. It's really bad. It just looks bad. It's rubbish. We're like walking around like, oh yeah, we used to take our kids to this park and this is a nice coffee shop. And when I watched it back, I was like, I'm not uploading this. This is tragic. And she was like, just upload it. I uploaded it. And then 2 weeks later, we got $1 million buyer from it who's moving from San Francisco, and they closed 45 days later. So you just never know. Like, it's just people are searching for the things that you know. And I think one of the things that as realtors, we all get on calls together. We all talk about the market, everything that's going on. Like, it's an echo chamber for us. But like Mike was saying, there's so much more knowledge we have of this industry than the regular person on the street. And when they're searching for those answers, you may as well be the one that comes up with them instead of someone else in your market. So yeah, I would just say take action. It's, it's definitely worth it, because if you don't, someone else in your market will, and they'll get the clients.
That's awesome, Louis. Hey, Mike, I don't know if you mind, since we have 20 more minutes, we've got some new people on the call. If I'd like to just open it up for if anyone has a question who's new here, like Mary, Cindy.
Yeah, let's do some Q&A. And Jim, what I'm going to do is I never do this, but just because you're extra special and you've got your cute little cat with you, I'm going to show you a bit of extra love. But I really want to drive this point home, guys, as to like how important it is to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you like the first 15 seconds of the video that I launched this morning, but more importantly, the first 15 seconds of a video that I did 3 years ago or 4 years ago. Right. And you're going to see the drastic difference of what it takes to just get repetitions in, because a lot of people are fearful to get started because they suck. Well, I'm here to tell you that no matter if you get started today or next year in 2024, you're still going to suck. So you might as well suck when you've got no audience today. And then in next year, you're going to be good, then sucking next year and taking another whole year to develop the skill set, right? It's not going to be any shorter to get good at something if you wait. So why wait? Just fucking do it. So let's kind of share the screen and I'll show you this. Like, this is, as Louis said, like as embarrassing as it gets, it's just atrocious. Like, I'm not even looking at the camera. I didn't even know how to do my audio. So there's a metronome going in the background and I look like garbage. Like, it's so embarrassing, but whatever.
That which you do not hate, you will eventually tolerate. This is a quote originally said by Malcolm X, but oftentimes heard by the
like a complete joke, right? Like nobody should watch that. I feel bad for the 510 people that probably never came back to my channel.
Straight in with Malcolm X. I love it.
Shut up. Cool. Get out of there. And then here's like my video from this morning. How to become a luxury real estate agent. This is something that seemingly confuses a ton of people, and a lot of people make it way more complicated than it needs to be. It's actually quite simple and not complex. So what I want to do in this video is give you 6 specific things that so like you can see, like it's a completely different vibe. It's a completely different level of confidence. It's a completely different level of delivery. Like my old videos, I used to have to chop up like a million times. The majority of my videos now are done in one take in an 8-minute video, right? So this is something that, again, is really important for you guys to develop, because when you can start to get that level of confidence in delivering a message, when you start to look at the people, like, and this is kind of like, it's recorded, whatever, who knows who's going to see this, but at the end of the day, when you're trying to win a listing presentation or trying to win a buyer presentation, it's not the one that's actually going to do the best job. It's the one that's able to convince the seller or the buyer that they're going to do the best job, right? And that comes down from communication skills, right? If you're more believable, and the way you become believable is through confidence and certainty, the most confident, the most certain agent is the one that gets the client. Might not always be the one that's the best for the job, might not always be the one that's going to go above and beyond. But if you can convince that client that you are so sure of yourself that you're going to do better than anybody else, you will win the client every time, right? And the certainty comes from being able to deliver these clear messages that a lot of people struggle with because they haven't got the repetitions in, right? And this is why a lot of people suck at prospecting, because they've never got the repetitions in the script. You can go practice your script and role play with your little buddies and all this kind of stuff for hours. But until you get slammed in the face with an objection you never heard about before, you're never going to be able to improve, right? The only way you can actually get better at something is to do it like on the battlefield, right? It's like, go, if you want to get better at door knocking, go knock 100 doors, go knock 1,000 doors. You want to get better at cold calling, go make 1,000 calls, right? You want to get better at video like I did, put out 400 videos. You'd be pretty damn good after that. If you didn't, well, there's something wrong with you. So happy to kind of open it up to any Q&A that people have and dive a little bit deeper. But again, I've got a bunch of videos on my channel, like showing you how to optimize, showing you how to do all this stuff. But I just wanted to kind of give you guys a bit of an insight that I don't usually share with people as to why now and why it's important to differentiate yourself, as a lot of agents start to like regress because they're fearful of the market. They're scared of what's going to happen. They've, you know, kind of shrivel up in ambiguity because they're not certain as to, you know, what it's going to do to affect their business. The ones that win are the ones that double down. Like right now, I increase the frequency of my content. I increase the quality of my content. I'm doing more while everybody else is doing less. And that's why every time the market shifts, I come out, you know, miles stronger, right? Every time a correction has happened to date, and one of my good kind of mentors, Pat Bet David, has actually talked about this a lot in his videos, is like, if you properly position yourself during a correction, you should be able to add a 0 to your net worth, right? So like when the first kind of shitstorm happened in my market, I went from being broke to having, you know, 5 figures, right? Like I added the 0 because I had like 4 figures in my bank account, and then I went to 5. I was like, okay, now I've got over 10 grand, thankfully. Then COVID happened. And then I went from kind of, you know, 5 figures to 6 figures. And then I really started leaning into COVID, and then you know, changed my brokerage. And in 1 year, I went from $300,000 to making 3.1 million in 12 months. Right. So every time shit changes, it's the biggest opportunity for people to separate the gap and differentiate themselves. So yeah, feel free to open it up, Jim, and happy to dive into anything.
Hey, we do have a question. If you don't have any followers, what do you recommend to do to get your video to multiple views?
If you don't have any followers, what can you do to get more views? A couple different things. So when you start looking at your content, and I'll share my screen and kind of just like briefly touch on this, but like there's kind of 4 key components to optimizing your content, which is your tags, titles, descriptions, and thumbnails, right? So you've got your thumbnail, which is going to be, you know, what people are deciding to click on. You've got your title of your video. You've got the tags, which are for optimization and SEO. And then you've got the description, right? Those are the 4 components. The only things you need to worry about from the actual optimization point of the video. And then I'll get into the delivery aspect, because that's the last part. So when you start looking at this, if you want to get more views, focus on optimizing your video. And this is one litmus test that I strongly urge people to do, right? Is the thumbnail. Number one, outsource it. Don't be designing this stuff yourself on Canva, spending an hour doing something you could outsource for $10. Like, this is an investment into your business. It's not an expense, right? If you invest $10 into your business and you get 300 times more engagement because it's actually designed properly, that is a massive return on your time invested, compared to if you wasted your time designing it for yourself. If you design it from yourself, you're not a graphic designer, you're a realtor, so it's going to look like shit anyways. So you might as well get somebody that does this all day to do it, right? So number one, make sure that your thumbnail is optimized. And what I mean by optimize is it's bold, the text is large, because 82% of people watch on mobile. The key to getting people to click on your thumbnail is twofold. And always make sure you're in the thumbnail picture as well, unless it's a property tour. Number one, make sure the text is different than the title of your video. This is super important. A lot of people, this is a video here about Facebook ads for real estate. A lot of people will put in their thumbnail, Facebook ads for real estate. Well, you've got two different opportunities for people to click on your video, which is the thumbnail and the title. And if both have the same text and they don't like that text, they ain't clicking on your video. But if you look at, like, for example, there's like 1 million people that have Facebook ad tutorials for real estate agents on YouTube, but all of them say Facebook ads real estate. Mine says 63 cents per lead. How many people want to know how to get leads for under $1? Right now, that captivates attention. Now, the second thing that's the most important is whenever you're going to do a thumbnail, and this is going to be the recurring theme of how to actually just get massive momentum on your YouTube channel that nobody does because they're scared, is you need to do a litmus test. And what I mean by a litmus test is you need to come to YouTube and you need to type in Facebook ads for real estate. Oh, Jesus. Right? So Facebook ads for real estate. Thankfully, mine are the top 2 performing ones. But when you look at this, it's like, no wonder mine are performing better. Would you click on one of these 2 thumbnails, or would you click on this dude? Well, probably the ones that are bigger, brighter, and more engaging, right? Same with like, one of my good friends, Kyle, right? Like, love the guy, but my thumbnails outperform his because they're more engaging and all of his look the same, right? So when you look at this, the one thing you want to do, like if you want to look at, for example, if you're going to do a video about moving to Denver, after you design your thumbnail, take your thumbnail, take a screenshot of it, pull it up on your screen and put it beside the top 3 performing thumbnails and say, unbiasedly, if I was not me, who would I click on? And the majority of the time you're going to click on the ones that are actually performing and not your own. So that's part number 1. Now, the second thing you want to do so that's part 1 for the thumbnail. For the titles, in order to get more engagement and more views, you want to be very literal, right? Don't be creative. Don't be clickbaity. Don't try and do something unique. Like, this is a search engine platform, right? So a lot of people are going to put out some stupid title being like, where is the market in Denver heading? Is it actually going to crash? Well, like, no. Nobody in the history of the world is searching for that. They're searching for like a Denver real estate market update, August 2022, right? And then you can put something creative in the thumbnail, like, is it going to crash, in the thumbnail, right? So don't get creative, be very literal. Now, the last litmus test that you guys need to do before I get into delivery is your tags. So your tags, just to kind of blow this up here, is basically like, how many different ways could you be searching for this video and for you to get in front of people? So again, the title of this video is Facebook ads for real estate. Well, you can see in the tags, I've got Facebook ads for real estate, Facebook ads for realtor, Facebook lead ads for real estate, Facebook leads for real estate. It's like, it's how many different ways could people potentially be searching for your video? Now, the litmus test you guys want to do, and this will make a game-changing difference in your performance of your YouTube videos. Take a screenshot of your tags after you're done putting them in there. Don't look at your thumbnail. Don't look at the description. Don't look at the title of the video. Look only at your tags and say, can I tell somebody, or if I gave this to somebody, could somebody tell me exactly what my video is about? And if the answer is no, then you don't have an optimized video, right? So when you look at this, like, I could give this screenshot here to Louis, and he's probably going to tell you this video is about Facebook lead generation, Facebook lead ads for real estate, right? But the problem is like, I see agents in like Austin, and they're putting like realtor, business, entrepreneur, homes. Like, you're trying to outrank like HGTV and shit. Like, it's not happening, right? Like, you need to get very granular, very specific, because the goal of the tags and the optimization is to tell YouTube, hey, this is exactly what my video is about, so you know exactly who to serve it to, right? The more vague, the more generic you get, the further away you're going to get from YouTube ever having a hope in hell of promoting your video, right? So you want to really do that litmus test to say, I'm going to, again, just look at these and say, can I actually tell what this video is about? Now, the second aspect of that, in terms of getting more views, is their delivery, right? So when you look at the delivery, you've kind of got 2 key components that are going to help you with your video. But then the last part is you're going to have to make sure that you actually look at the whole delivery of it and do another litmus test, the final one, which we'll get into. So the first part of getting more views, getting more clients, getting more subscribers, getting everything, is you have to optimize your videos and make sure people are actually going to freaking click on it. Because if you have a banger of a video, I've seen agents pay like $5,000 to get crazy videos created, and they get 17 views because the thumbnails are shit and it's not optimized. And then I've seen people put out terrible videos that get 30,000 views and rank number 1 in the market because they've got a thumbnail that clicks and optimized video. Right? So you want to make sure that you're getting people to actually click, because you could have the best delivery, the best message in the world, the most value of any other agent in your market, but if nobody clicks on it, nobody will care. Right? So step number 1 is get people to click. Step number 2 is get people to stay. Right? And then you want to get people to convert. So first thing you want to do in every video is you want to make sure you hook people, right? A lot of people are just going to go into the video and say, hey, it's Mike Sherrard with eXp Realty, and today I'm going to talk to you about how the market's doing in Denver. Well, if you've got an 8-minute video, like you haven't given people very many reasons to stay, right? So they're going to say, well, what am I actually going to get from this 8-minute video? And then they're probably going to go find a shorter one. The way you can approach it is be like, everybody's talking about how interest rates are skyrocketing in Denver right now, and home sellers think they're not going to be able to get more, the most money for their property. But I'm going to show you 3 things you could do in this market right now to get more than you're expecting for the sale of your home, right? So now they know there's 3 things. There's some scarcity, there's some fear tactics, and they want to know what those 3 things are so that they get the most money for their home, right? And then the call to action is the most important. If you don't call the action, no action gets taken, right? By the way, my name is Mike Sherrard with eXp Realty, and I put out videos every single week to make sure that you always have your finger on the pulse of what's going on in the Denver real estate market. So if you want to stay in touch with how things are going, make sure you subscribe, but also feel free to reach out if you would like to know how this market might impact the value of your home, or if you would like to view any properties, or if you would just like to talk about anything related to real estate. My contact information is below, and I'm going to show it on the screen here as well. Feel free to text me, email me, or book a call with me. Done. Right? If you don't tell people what to do, they're not going to do it. Right? So it's really important that you do the call to action. And then the final litmus test that I was kind of alluding to is I rewatch 100% of my own videos. Right? So, but you know, before it goes live, I watch my own video. And what I do is I look and see, where does my attention drift off? Like, where during this video do I actually start to look at Instagram notifications? Where do I check emails because I'm bored of my own shit? Like, where does my attention drift off? Because if your attention drifts off, so will everybody else's. But more importantly, you want to watch your video, then watch the #1 performing video and say whose video is actually more valuable, right? So the litmus test is comparing yourself. The beautiful part about YouTube is everybody's already proven what works, right? Like, it's not rocket science. You can go search up real estate in your own market, and all you have to do is R&D, rip off and duplicate. Look at what is already ranking #1, make it a whole lot better, put your own spin on it, and people are going to look at you versus them, right? But you have to be unbiased enough to say, I'm not special. Just because I put this out doesn't mean people are going to watch it. I need to be unbiased through these litmus tests to say, would I click on it? Would I watch it? Would I reach out to this person? Right? Is kind of the 3 key stages that you want to really explore here. So that's kind of like a long and short of how to make sure people actually click on your videos, watch your videos, and then actually reach out to you to turn, you know, viewers into clients and leads as well. Jim?
Yeah, does anyone have any questions? I mean, I've got lots of questions, but you know, I've got time to ask you, Mike. So anyone else have some questions? Just open Q&A. Okay, I got a question then. What if you, so I've got actually a video done and stuff, and I just really don't like the way it turned out. And like, even I was watching it, and yeah, it was like 30 seconds in, I was like, yeah, I'm already on Instagram checking messages and stuff. And when you have a video like that, is it sometimes best just to scrap it and start over to not hurt your brand, or go ahead, any views are better than none?
Yeah, definitely. It's a great question. Probably the last one we have time with, because we've got a meeting here in a couple minutes. But let me kind of pull up an example here to kind of show you guys what Jim's talking about. So, you know, one of the things is to always be mindful that you never know how things are going to perform. And what I mean by that is, like, let's look at this video, for example. And this video is not that great. It's actually kind of funny. Like, if it's going to look on a small screen, but like, this is me in my old, you know, real estate office, literally drinking a freaking beer in the video. Like, I gave 0 fucks in this video. And it's terrible. The thumbnail was designed by yours truly on Canva. It sucks. It's atrocious. But let's look at the analytics for a second. This video got literally 600 views for 2 years. And then God knows what happened. Something in the world, all the stars decided to align, or shooting star happened. And then suddenly this video is now getting like literally thousands of views a day. Like, I don't know. It's a trash video. No idea why people started clicking on it, but it's now one of my top performing videos. Right. So, because YouTube is like recommending it, right? Suggested videos. You can see here, YouTube's recommending it to other people, which is crazy. So it's kind of one of these things, Jim, where the answer to that is, if you watch your video and it's actually complete garbage, like you're embarrassed for people to see this because everything you put out there to the world, whether it be digital, social, or physical, is an extension of you and a representation of you. If it's actually to the point where you're like, I would not want my clients to see this because it could actually hurt my brand, then yes, don't put it up. But if it's like, if you're just being picky because we're always going to be our own harshest critics and you're like, it's not that good, but you know, it'll do. It's not going to hurt me is kind of the test. Is not, is it going to help me? Is it going to hurt me? And if the answer is no to is it going to hurt me, put it up there because you never know what's going to happen. The same thing I did with this video, Jim, and it's kind of where we'll leave this off. If we look at like some of my videos here and look at one of these most recent ones, this video here, 6 secrets to dominate as a realtor during a housing crash. I literally got off this video after recording it, didn't even send it to the editors yet. And I was like, holy shit, that was useless. Like I provided no value in this video. It sucked. But I was like, fuck, it's 12 minutes. Like I'm not going to go redo this. Like whatever. I send it and now it's literally my top performing video this period. Right. And I was like, done is better than perfect. I'd rather just get it up there because maybe other people have lower standards than I do, which clearly is the case, and they're watching it. So you never know what's going to hit. So as long as it's not going to hurt you, get it up there. If it is going to hurt you, well, you don't want to get hurt.
Awesome. Well, yeah, Mike, really appreciate you coming on here. That was a ton of good information. And yeah, I hope you have a good trip here.
Yeah, man, I'll be heading down there in a few hours. And if anybody on here ever wants, you know, has any other questions about video or whatever, just send me a DM on Instagram. I always reply to my own messages and stuff, and always happy to help anybody as well. So hit me up anytime, and hopefully we'll get to see some of you guys on camera soon. So thanks again, Jim and Kyle, and we will see you guys this weekend.
Awesome. Thanks,
Take
Mike.
care.
Appreciate
Peace.
it.